first details on the clash that happened between two actors on the set of Avengers Doomsday have hit the net.
It's growing fast that Robert Downey Jr. is having trouble on the set of his new Avengers film with Ryan Reynolds.
Or keep sinking like a stone at the box office. But the real problem for Disney is that their next big bet, Avengers Doomsday, is mired in production trouble behind the scenes, of the kind that is giving Fantastic a run for its money. Kevin Feige is in other words up a creek without a paddle.
Bob Iger makes 400 times what his lowest worker is, and I think that's a shame, Bob.
Robert Downey Jr. exploded on Ryan Reynolds on the set of Avengers Doomsday. This news is spreading like wildfire that Hollywood's favorite quippy jokester is allegedly ticking off the veteran titan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And after Spider-Man Brand New Day will not be in the Avengers film at all. They will not mention him, he's not going to show up, and Tom Holland will not be in the film at all. Now, in regards to why, it seems like that it's more or less because the film doesn't want to account for him, and they didn't want to have a giant mess behind the scenes trying to alter filming.
What began as a dream pairing for fans has reportedly spiraled into an on-set showdown so dramatic it's giving old-school Hollywood gossip a run for its money. Whispers from the studio lot suggest that RDJ, a man known for his precision and intensity, is far from amused by Ryan Reynolds' constant, off-the-cuff antics. Now, this isn't just about creative differences. This is a clash of two very different worlds colliding head-on with a rumored reshoot that is now costing Disney millions. And all because one actor wanted to have the last laugh.
Report. Now, the tension between the two of them, that's where things get a little wonky. Now, this tension actually came from Jeff Schneider, who he has his own site. I have a history. I don't always believe his stuff, but he has gotten some scoops right. He is one of those scoopers out there, reporters. It's not always into the Marvel scene, but gets a...
But wait until you hear why the tension started in the first place, because it's not what you think. The word on the street is that a major clash happened during a pivotal scene where Dr. Doom, played by Downey, was supposed to deliver a chilling, iconic monologue. Everything was set, the grim lighting, the menacing score, the full gravitas of a master villain. But as Downey was about to deliver his line, a low-level, high-frequency sound started coming from across the set.
Behind the scenes. Now here's what he actually said on his podcast. I've heard that they paid Robert Downey Jr. 50 to 60 million. Disney had to reshoot for 3 weeks. They reshot 3 weeks worth of material because apparently, and this is what he heard, they had an actor standing in for Downey Jr. in the Dr. Doom suit, basically wearing the mask and the suit. They had a body double and a face double, and Downey stood off camera reading the lines. Apparently after 2 or 3 weeks, he was like, this isn't working. I want to reshoot everything with me in the suit. Now, I can't confirm this.
Reynolds, in full Deadpool costume, was reportedly using a tiny battery-powered harmonica, playing a tinny out-of-tune rendition of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in the background. Downey stopped, took a deep breath, and supposedly, after a quick, sharp glare, went back to his line. But the harmonica didn't stop. A crew member mentioned that it was one of the most awkward moments they had ever seen. The tension was palpable, like a rubber band stretched to its breaking point. But that was just the beginning of their creative differences. The real drama, however, began when their characters' on-screen dynamic became a point of contention. Sources close to the production whisper that Reynolds, in a move straight out of his Deadpool playbook, began improvising lines during crucial scenes, constantly breaking the tension and the fourth wall. For a character like Deadpool, this is the very essence of his humor. But for Downey's Dr. Doom, a villain who relies on fear and solemnity, it was nothing short of an insult. Imagine you're trying to build a dramatic, epic moment, and your scene partner keeps trying to make it into a slapstick comedy. One particularly juicy rumor claims that Reynolds ad-libbed a line, asking Dr. Doom if his mask came with a built-in air freshener because it smelled like a damp basement and betrayal. Downey, a man who lives and breathes character consistency, reportedly just froze, not knowing how to react. What happened next allegedly resulted in a very public and heated discussion between the two titans. The incident in question, according to crew members who were on set, wasn't just a simple disagreement. It was a full-blown verbal sparring match. Downey, in a moment of frustration, supposedly approached Reynolds, insisting that Dr. Doom's gravitas couldn't be a punchline. He allegedly argued that the film's tone, which was meant to be serious and epic, was being undermined by Reynolds' improv. Reynolds, in turn, is rumored to have defended his approach, stating that it was the only way to make the movie stand out from the generic superhero fare. The back and forth escalated, with voices getting louder and the entire crew falling silent, watching in stunned silence. This led to an intervention by the director, who tried to mediate the situation, but the damage was already done. The question is, did this on-set drama spill over into the personal lives of the actors? And what did Marvel do to resolve? The whispers behind the scenes suggest that after the verbal confrontation, the atmosphere on set became ice cold. The camaraderie that once existed between the two superstars reportedly vanished completely. They would film their scenes, but as soon as the director yelled, "Cut!" they would retreat to opposite sides of the set, not speaking a word to each other unless it was absolutely necessary for the scene. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and the crew had to tiptoe around them, trying to avoid being caught in the middle of their feud. This alleged rift created a massive headache for the director, who was now forced to navigate a minefield of fragile egos. But the real problem began when their public appearances and interviews started to show signs of the on-set drama, which was not well received by Marvel. What did they do? The tension reportedly spilled over into the press tour, with fans noticing a definite shift in the dynamic between the two actors. During a joint interview, when asked about their on-screen chemistry, Reynolds allegedly shot a joke about their creative differences, a joke that landed with a thud, as Downey just stared straight ahead with a blank expression. The moment, which has now been scrubbed from the internet, was incredibly awkward and gave away the fact that there was a massive problem on the set. Fans immediately noticed the stiffness and lack of warmth, which were uncharacteristic of the two actors, especially when they're usually so charismatic and playful. It was no longer a secret. The feud was out in the open, and Marvel had a major problem on their hands. What Marvel did next was a desperate move that could make or break the film. The solution Marvel came up with was shocking and unprecedented. Rumor has it that they decided to split the two actors' press commitments, having them do separate interviews and appearances to avoid any further awkward interaction. They even went so far as to allegedly reshoot some of the scenes to reduce the amount of direct interaction between Doctor Doom and Deadpool, something that has never been done before in the MCU's history. This was a clear sign that the situation was far more serious than a simple creative difference. The studio was reportedly panicking, worried that the public feud would sour the audience's perception of the film and damage its box office potential. The studio was willing to do whatever it took to save the film, but this alleged solution just made matters worse. The real question is, what happened after the reshoots? According to Inside Whispers, the reshoots were just as tense, if not more, than the original filming. The two actors were reportedly on a tight schedule and in a race against time to get the scenes done, but their animosity still hung heavy in the air. The director had to allegedly film them separately and edit their scenes together, which is an extremely difficult task for a film of this scale. Sources say the producers were under immense pressure to make the film work, no matter the cost. This unprecedented approach to filmmaking has left many wondering if the final product will feel disjointed and lacking in chemistry. Will the audience be able to tell that the two actors were not on the same page? The answer to that question may determine the film's success. What was said during the wrap-up party that made everyone uncomfortable? The wrap-up party was reportedly a tense affair, with both actors avoiding each other. The crew was there to celebrate, but a cloud of awkwardness hung over the entire event. A moment of truth came when the director got on stage to give a speech, thanking everyone for their hard work. In a move that surprised everyone, he singled out both Downey and Reynolds, praising their dedication and talent, but also subtly hinting at the challenges they faced. He allegedly said, "This film was a wild ride, and I've never worked with two more passionate or different artists." The comment was meant to be a lighthearted joke, but the crowd's silence was deafening. Downey gave a forced smile, and Reynolds just nodded. It was clear that the feud was not just a rumor, it was the real deal. But what happened after the speech? The tension reached its peak when Downey and Reynolds were seen having a private conversation in a quiet corner of the party. The conversation was low, but from the looks on their faces, it was serious. A few crew members who were nearby claimed they overheard snippets of the conversation, with Downey reportedly saying something about respect for the character, and Reynolds replying with a smirk that he was just giving the audience what they want. The conversation allegedly ended with a cold. handshake, a brief nod, and both actors walking away in opposite directions. It was a somber end to a very difficult production. The film is now in the hands of the audience, who will get to decide if the on-set drama was worth it. But before we get to that, what was the funniest thing that happened on set to break the tension?